Welcome back to another video. In this one, I'll show you how to revise for your iGCSEs or GCSEs, whatever. If you're wondering what app I'm using, this is Bear, and I've mentioned it many times before in my videos. I have a separate guide on it as well, and it's above. So in Bear, I usually add tags in order to categorize my notes. So I've just added the tag school. You can, do whatever you want. So the first step to starting any sort of revision is to first list all the subjects which you want to revise, which you're planning to revise. Of course, the subjects which you're going to give exams for eventually. And so here are the subjects that I'm going to do, inshallah, in 2021. And after you do that, just list them in order of your preference, i.e. the ones which you find more enjoyable to study than others, or in the order of for example, the ones that you get the most marks in or you are quite good at in school. So just order them in that way, from the ones you like the most or the ones you're best at the top, and then the ones you don't like that much or you find hard or you don't do well at, those towards the bottom. So I've just listed these subjects according to my preference, and as you can see, English literature is at the bottom because I'm not good at it and I don't like it that much because I find it hard to analyze texts and all of that. So anyway, after you do that, group these subjects together. So for example, the first one with the last one, so economics with English literature. So group it in this way and do all of these subjects in the same way. So then the next one would be accounting with history, ICT with mathematics B, commerce with English language, and so on. Of course, you do this with your own subjects. These are mine, and the reason for doing this is because you're basically grouping your most favored subject or the subject which you're the best at with the one which you're not so good at. And the thing is that this is going to motivate you. So if you like economics, you're going to be happy to do that, and then you will not feel so bad about doing literature because you know that you have to do economics. And I forgot to say that in this whole thing, you have to do the one that you don't like first and then the one that you like later, because you'll be looking forward to doing the subject that you like better. And although this is not the best motivation tip, it's a good way of organizing your revision. Now moving on. This is a sample subject-specific revision table which I made in an app called Numbers, which is available on any Mac device, but you can of course use Excel, Microsoft Excel, or you can use Google Sheets. I'll show you something related to Google Sheets a while later, but for now this is my revision timetable, which is subject specific. As you can see, it's for economics. Over here I am opening the specification for economics, and as you can see, I'm only going to focus on the content of the economics papers, and by looking at this content I'm going to structure my revision timetable. And this is very important. Most people structure their revision timetables according to the time, or the day, the week, hourly based system, etc. And I'm going to come to that point later on, but for this subject-specific revision timetable, I'm going to base it more on the subjects rather than the time. So over here in this qualification at a glance page, I'm just going to quickly jot down the content summary which is given here. So these are basically the topics. I'm just going to jot this down into my sheet in Numbers, and I'm going to make a list of all the topics that I have to cover before the iGCSE exam, and this is what you should do. You can of course do this on paper as well. It's not necessary to do it on a device or online, so you can just grab a paper and do it if you like to do it that way. I personally prefer to do it online. So I'll just jot this down over here. And the number one reason I am doing this is because I learned that it is a scientifically proven method of revising, and it's because it's a method of spaced repetition, which means that it helps you to, retain that content much better in your head, and it helps you to memorize more efficiently. So that's why I'm going to be using this type of revision timetable, and I'm making subject-specific revision timetables because I don't want to put like the topics of all 8 subjects into one revision timetable. That's going to be a huge timetable. So I've just, separated each subject into its own sheet, and over here is the one for economics. So one thing I wanted to mention is that when you are taking your topics from the syllabus or specification or portion, whatever you want to call it, when you're taking your points from there, just don't feel as though you have to copy it word to word, as in you have to write the topics as they have provided or in the order that they have provided. You can customize it according to your own needs. So for example, what I mean by this is that, for example, there could be a general topic like over here for me there was macroeconomic objectives. So this is like a general topic which includes many subtopics, and these subtopics are lengthy themselves and they have their own subsections, which is why I decided to break this down and not write it as macroeconomic objectives as a single topic, but instead break it down into the subtopics. So for example, economic growth, inflation, unemployment, etc. So you can go ahead and do this as well, and you can do this according to your needs. So if you find that there's some sort of chapter or topic which is lengthy and it's listed under another topic, you can just separate those two and write it in the way that you like in your revision timetable. I hope you understand my point. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead now and continue making the rest of my table. Okay, so previously I mentioned spaced repetition, and you might be wondering why it is considered a good way of revising. Well, this is because instead of taking time as your basis for revision, you take the topics as your basis. So you are basically focusing more on the topics instead of the time you revise. So over here, for example, the first chapter, economic problem, for example, I revised it last on September 12. I'm going to write this down in this column under the section the days I revised, as you can see, and I'm going to color code it according to how well I know it. So for example, green for very good, yellow for okay, and then maybe orange for not so okay, or I don't know, whatever you wish. And then red could be like really bad. So you can color code it as you wish. And in this way, you just keep writing the days that you revise. So maybe the next time you revise is 18 September, the next day, or of course, any other day that you revise that same chapter. And then you color code it accordingly. So maybe you got worse at it because you forgot, or maybe you got better, or so in that way, you just color code. And once you do this for like most of your topics, you get an overview of the topics which you're good at from seeing the color coding, and also you get to know which topics you revised like the least, or the topics which you revised like quite a long time ago, or the ones you revised recently, and which ones you should focus on, which ones you're lacking in, which ones you're really weak at, and you should like do some revision for them. So this is why spaced repetition is such a good way of revising and organizing your revision timetable, which is why I recommend that you guys also try to make a revision timetable like this. Now, as you can see, I have a separate revision timetable for commerce. I mentioned earlier that I'm going to make separate revision timetables for each subject in order to make it less confusing. So yeah. And I hope you understood what I was trying to convey. Now that I'm done showing you this subject-specific revision timetable and how to use it, let's go ahead and see how to make an hourly or time-based revision timetable. So you might be wondering, after my passionate description about spaced repetition and how important it is, why am I showing you how to make a time-based standard revision timetable which almost everyone makes? Well, that's because you should not push it out completely, and it's quite useful as well because it helps you to block your time for specific subjects. Now, this is Google Sheets over here. I've decided to use this as it's convenient. I can access it wherever I want, and there's no problem with me losing my revision timetable because it's on the cloud. So I'll just choose this schedule template over here, but of course I'm going to go ahead and customize it. So I'm going to use this time of me just, customizing my table and changing colors and everything to just explain to you why it's important to also use this type of timetable along with the other type of subject specific revision timetable which I showed you earlier. And that's because you should really block your time for specific subjects in the way that I explained earlier, the grouping method, in which you group your least favorite subjects with your favored subjects, and in that way you just block time for those subjects. So in one day you would do one group or something like that. And the reason why it's important to do this as well is so that you have an idea of what subjects you have to do that day, and then if you're confused about what topic to do or what to focus on in that subject, then you go to your subject specific revision timetable like the ones I showed you previously, and then from over there you get an idea of what topics you should focus on for your revision period, etc. So yeah, I hope that was clear, and now I'm going to show you what my revision timetable looked like after I customized and changed the colors and stuff. So this is not something that I'm going to be following, it's just like a sample revision timetable. And the main thing that I want to point out is that you must block time for your regular daily activities such as classes and school, etc., or any other kind of activity outside of your revision schedule, so that you know that these times are occupied, you won't be able to do any revision that time, and then the other times of the day you can block some time periods for your revision. And you should usually do this like in blocks of 30 minutes. So your revision blocks or your revision periods should not be too long, like 1 hour for one subject, like all in one go. It should be like 30 minutes and then a break and then 30 minutes for another subject. So over here I've just given an example. So for example, economics flashcards and literature flashcards. As I mentioned earlier, you should use the same grouping method which I explained earlier on in the video, in which you take your least favorite subject, which over here is literature, with your favorite subject, which is economics. And over here I didn't order it correctly, but you're actually supposed to do literature first because it's the one that I like the least, and of course according to you, the one you like least, you should do it first so that you are encouraged to finish it and go on to doing the subject that you like. And I've also written economics flashcards in order to specify I want to do flashcards. But if I'm confused about what topic I should do the flashcards for, then I can go ahead to my subject specific revision timetable. Of course you can color code it. The colors I used aren't great, but yeah, you can use whatever color you want, choose a different color for your break, etc. And you can do all of this on paper as well. If you find that easier, you can go ahead and do that also, but you should include breaks. You should not completely remove breaks from your revision schedule, because you'll get overtired, and of course you can't revise the entire day without any breaks. Your brain is gonna get just so tired. And in the same way, you just block your time for revision throughout the week. And yeah, I hope that my video was of some use to you, and I hope you will benefit something from it, and also try to start making your subject specific revision timetables from now, so that when it's time for iGCSEs or GCSEs, you just have to make your time-based standard revision timetable. Thanks for watching.